guys, this video is going to be all about the Cancer Ascendant. So I will be using the word Ascendant and Rising interchangeably. They mean the same thing for the purposes of this video. Before we jump into things, I strongly recommend that you watch my video all about what the Ascendant sign is. I will link it up here. So I'm going to be putting some timestamps down below, but I will be talking about how to find your Ascendant, briefly go over what your Ascendant is, and then we're going to talk about how having a Cancer, Rising, or Ascendant affects your appearance, health, has to do with your birth, persona, and then I'll talk a tiny bit about the descendant. So let's jump into it. So how do you find your ascendant? You're going to need your birth date, time, and place, and then I will put a link down below where you can get a free generated version of your birth chart, and you want to look at what sign is on that first house cusp. That will tell you what your ascendant or rising sign is. So what exactly is an ascendant sign? The ascendant sign is that sign that's on the first house cusp. So it's associated with things that are associated with the first house, like your physical body, yourself, your being, your perception of the world's perception of you, early childhood experiences, birth. Typically your ascendant comes out more instinctually. It is how you act upon first impression, what you're like when you have to adapt to a new situation, be around new people, when you're a little bit nervous, unsure, when you feel like your safety is at risk. The ascendant sign is like a security blanket that comes out, like I said, instinctually whenever we are a little bit insecure or we're kind of trying to feel our way around a new situation. The ascendant can also tell us about our birth into the world. And there are a lot of factors associated. So not every Cancer, Ascendant, or Rising is going to be exactly the same. You do also want to look at the chart ruler, any aspects that's making, any other planets making aspects to the ascendant. You want to look at activity going on in the first house. And there's just a lot of things that come into play. But you might notice some general similarities between people that do have a Cancer rising. So let's jump into a Cancer rising specifically. So if your rising is Cancer, that means that your chart ruler is the moon because the moon rules Cancer. So let's start by talking about appearance, and the reason the ascendant is associated with appearance is because the first house is associated with the physical self, with appearance. So again, there are a lot of other factors that can play into someone's appearance when we're looking at it from an astrological standpoint, but there do tend to be similarities when it comes to Cancer risings and appearances. A lot of time Cancer risings will have a smaller or a shorter stature. They tend to be fuller or heavier on top and then more slender on the bottom. So they might have wider shoulders, they could have wider hips and then slender legs, things along those lines, but there does tend to be more of a fullness on the top half of the body. A lot of Cancer risings tend to be curvy. They may struggle with putting on weight later on in life. They do tend to have more of a feminine build. Obviously, that's not every Cancer rising. The stomach might be distinguishable in some way, or the hips, they might be distinguishable, maybe wide or very narrow. A lot of Cancer risings have smaller or more petite hands or feet. They tend to dress in clothes that are very comfortable to them. They can look really nice, but they want clothes that feel good and feel comfortable because comfort is important to Cancer risings. Their features might be more rounded, perhaps their cheeks, their actual face shape, their eyes, their nose, even their mouth. Now, I talked about expressions being apparent on the face with a Gemini rising, but with Cancers, it's their emotions that are more apparent on their faces. Some Cancers have bigger noses. A lot of Cancers can struggle with bloating issues or retaining water. So what can having a Cancer rising tell us about health? A lot of times when looking at health, we tend to look at the 6th house for that, but the 1st house is very important for health matters as well because it has to do with our physical self, our body. So we can look at the ascendant to tell us things about our physical and mental health. The following are potential areas that might give a Cancer rising issues. So anything involving the breast, the uterus, the stomach, the diaphragm, the genital areas. A lot of Cancers also deal with things related to cold ailments like a cold, bronchitis, pneumonia, having a cough, anything involved with taste. Blood can pose an issue, whether it's related to menstrual concerns or anemia or something else. Could be struggles with fertility or sleep, being really fatigued or having insomnia. Could have a lot of emotional ups and downs or could struggle with different kinds of depression, mania. So when it comes to birth, what can a Cancer rising tell us? So The rising sign is associated with our birth into the world, into this universe. So when it comes to your birth as a baby, not, if you're a mother that's given birth, but your birth into the world, what might the environment have been like? Also, there are other things you can look at. If there is a planet really close to the ascendant, you definitely want to pay attention to that. With the birth, there might have been a lot of ups and downs. Maybe there was a bit of mystery involved. You didn't know when the baby was coming. The due date was wrong or something along those lines. Could have been a lot of compassion involved, a lot of nurturing. The birth might have been very emotional in some way. Could have had a lot of feminine energy surrounding it. Somebody might have been shy, more reserved or quiet. That could have been, the mother giving birth, or somebody in the environment where the birth occurred. Might have been issues with the birth itself. Could have been issues with lungs, breathing, blood-related issues, stomach-related issues with the mother or the baby. Could have been an emergency C-section. The birth may have been something secretive in some type of way. Typically a lot of caring, kind energy surrounding the birth as a whole, along with other things just mentioned. So when it comes to a Cancer rising's persona, what are some similarities that we see? So this is the ascendant sign ruled by the moon, so there could be a lot of ups and downs. This rising sign might be a bit more guarded, or at least they attempt to be. But it doesn't always turn out that way because emotions are involved, and it can be hard for a Cancer rising to hold back that side of themselves. They can be timid or shy, slow to approach, or have a fear of not being accepted. They might appreciate being liked, so that might be something that is important to a Cancer rising. So due to that, they might be a people pleaser, at first impression, and they often ponder how people really feel about them. Feelings are important, and this is the vantage point in which they, view new experiences through. So many of their initial impressions and reactions come from a place of feelings and emotions. The feelings of this ascendant can be easily hurt or provoked. Though typically, if their feelings are provoked, they're not the type that's generally going to fly off the handle in rage, but they could be sensitive and have their feelings hurt easily. And they could fly off the handle in rage, but there's other ascendants that would be more likely to do that. They tend to be very kind, caring, and compassionate people to be around. They're the type that looks out for others, they consider other people, they look out for other people's needs, usually before their own. They can be shy or nervous in uncomfortable or new situations, but they're also the type that will reach out if they feel that others need their comfort or support. They tend to have a very warm, nurturing energy about them. So if they're in a new situation, and they often try to envision a situation where everybody's new to it, a new group or something, how would each rising sign be in that type of an environment? And that Cancer would definitely be, they might be a little bit more quiet, a little bit more reserved, a little more timid, but they tend to be very warm and naturally draw people to them. They tend to be comforting and look out for others. They might be the type to poke out a little bit in newer situations, but if anything makes them nervous or, they feel sensitive to anything, they will quickly retreat. If they don't feel safe, they can definitely hide a little bit in newer situations or environments or around new people. Something that can make them feel more secure is turning their attention to other people's needs as opposed to their own. Again, they can have that nurturing, almost motherly type vibe. They could even be protective of people they don't know very well. They can be a bit insecure, or they might not be the most assertive people up front. And they'll tend to look for attachments when they're feeling insecure, whether that's another person or just having a safe environment, maybe pulling out the phone or something like that. They want to make sure they have a retreat available to them if they need it. To a Cancer rising, the world can be scary yet beautiful, dark yet intriguing. They do tend to care about how they come across to people. They may attach easily at first, and they can have a bit of a competitive undercurrent to their personality. But overall, something that you might notice more than anything else is Cancer risings do tend to be very kind, compassionate people. So just a little tiny bit of information about the descendant. So Cancer is I feel, and the opposite of Cancer is Capricorn, which would be your descendant if your rising is Cancer. So Capricorn is I use. So it's a push and pull between feeling things and having more of a cold, detached, practical view of how something is of use. For a Cancer rising to relax, anything grounded or related to water can be very soothing for them. So that is a Cancer rising or ascendant sign. If you are a Cancer rising or you know somebody, let me know what you think down below. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Have a good day or night.